Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PromoCorner. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. But of course, before we get to them, we got to tell you about our fine sponsors today. We've got a little pop-up here on the screen as well as my ad read, and this is for ASI. That's our sponsors for today. So we're talking about ASI show in Chicago, taking place July 25th through the 27th at McCormick Place, North Building. Don't miss your chance to spark conversations, discover new products, build your business, and have fun at the last large-scale trade show of the year. Highlights include a keynote speaker on how to close more sales by improving your pitch, a panel of industry executives sharing how to navigate the current promo marketplace, an exhibit hall filled with innovative product ideas, education sessions to help you grow your business, and opportunities to network, win prizes, and much more. So register now at asishow.com and use promo code PC. So awesome. Meg, how are you doing? I see you're still at the airport. This is a pre-recorded episode. Hopefully you haven't been there for a week.
No, I haven't been here. Still waiting for my daughter to come through there. So, Neil, if you see me leave for a split second, I am waiting for my daughter to walk through. She joined the Navy today and she leaves for boot camp. So I've been sitting at the airport all morning and I will be till 7 o'clock at night working, hoping that I see her pass through before she gets on the airplane. They don't allow parents at MEPS anymore. So you might miss a little bit, but that's it. Or I might miss a little bit, but that's it. But yeah, otherwise still good. Like I was 20 minutes ago.
No worries. Stephen McFadden, how are you doing?
What's going on? I just was thinking about the illusion that we create when we change clothes. But you know what?
Yeah, normally when we do that, we all sort of change clothes. But I knew Meg was at the airport, so I was like, screw it. I'm just going to change
I was like, you know what? I don't think there's any illusion with this one.
Yeah. Well, the illusion is that these episodes are 2 weeks apart. So
true.
You know, yeah, if you didn't catch the last episode, go back 2 weeks, May 31st, and check it out. So,
and Jeff, how are you? Before you forget yourself,
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you very much. We are joined today by a very special guest, Neil Tomnay with Collegiate Pride up in State College, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
So very excited to have you on. We're going to talk about how to sell into the collegiate marketplace today. But before we get into the episode, we like to give our special guest a good 3 to 4 minutes to sort of introduce yourself and maybe tell us how you got started in the promotional products industry and what the hell you've been up to since. So, Neil, take it away, man.
So I work for Collegiate Pride now, and mainly it's where Penn State is, University Park, also known as State College, Pennsylvania. Before that, I was actually started out as a buyer for a local brewery and doing their merchandise and marketing. And that's what kind of got me into the industry, honestly, is because I started doing all the buying for them, buying all their promotional items and all that kind of stuff. And then I was approached by the manager here at the time, and she asked me to come on board because she thought I'd be good at, selling on the other side of the industry. So
That's
I've
awesome.
been here ever since.
So is that Debbie?
Yeah, that was Debbie.
So Debbie is the kind of woman that you fall in love with because I just love her. So I came out there a couple times, and the last time I came out right before she retired, she was like, "You're staying at my house." So I stayed there. She had the whole group over. We had pizza and wine, and we were literally just having a good old party at her house. But yeah, I miss her. Have you talked to her lately?
Yeah, she's doing really well.
Oh,
I think she just got back from Italy, so she's doing her traveling thing, and yeah,
of course,
she loved it.
Good.
I think it's a really interesting perspective to come into the industry from like that end buyer's perspective. Like, once you got involved in the industry, did you realize it is what it is, like beforehand?
That's an interesting question. I guess I was kind of naive about that, but once I got in and like realized that I was dealing with other people that used to be me. I think it was probably the best way for me to enter the industry is coming from an end user's perspective, because the questions that people first asked me when I started doing that, like, do you have AI files and are you sending vector art? Like, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
Way back in the day. But so being in their shoes kind of like almost prepared me to be in the role that I am now, because they're asking me all the same questions that I asked 12 years ago.
Oh yeah. 100%. Well, I like I said, I think it's an interesting perspective to come from, and I'm sure you're able to use that a lot when you're going into sales meetings and being able to potentially close the sale, or knowing what's in the marketplace from that buyer's perspective to really, create a competitive niche for yourself. So why don't we start with like an overview of like the collegiate market? Is it all like, Division I schools, or, what kind of spend is there out there? I mean, what can you give us as far as maybe some stats or something?
Well, we mainly focus on colleges inside Pennsylvania. We don't really branch out too much currently, but we do probably 5, 7 different colleges and their bookstores from our location, and we also have a retail division where we sell Penn State merchandise locally here.
Oh,
So
nice.
I see it from both sides.
How, I mean, out of the universities that you're working with, are they all licensed, or are you able to sell without? Because I know that that's been a big thing over the last decade or so. Like licensing has
Yeah.
just sort of taken over everything, especially with the bookstores. Like if it's
Yeah.
not Barnes and Noble, it's licensed. 100%.
Yeah. Licensing is a big issue right now. Not gonna lie. Some are smaller schools and they have a marketing department, but they don't really have a licensing department per se. But with Penn State, they're very restrictive. So that definitely plays a huge part in not only what I can sell my clients, but also what we can sell at a retail level as well.
So I can speak a little to the kind of the getting into the collegiate side as well, and I'm sure Neil can back me up or provide some insight if I go off track. But when you first apply for licensing, there's a couple different levels to it. There's not for resale purchasing license, so you could sell to like departments, whether it be activities groups or education groups, but they're not going to be for resale. A lot of universities still require some sort of a license for that. And then there's local licensees, which gives you permission for you to, if you get it, to then branch out into your state. So I'm assuming since you're doing multiple in Pennsylvania, it's very similar to how it was here in North Carolina when we got our license for the North Carolina sales. You still have to select, do we do warehouse, do we do bookstore, do we do online retail? Each of those are different channels that you can sell into. But you have to apply for each one of those, and then each school independently, and then each product category, and then product specific. So it's a lot when you go into it. And they even have you send samples, to Atlanta, where IMG CLC is, and you're sending pieces like, I want to sell this. Okay, you have permission now to sell it. And then you go back and it's like, now do you want to buy it? So it's a very time consuming, lengthy process, but it can be very, very good for business for sure.
Yeah, it can also draw out a sale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you're talking about like even like random items like, I don't know, cell phone wallets or drinkware, they want you to send each individual piece to get to Georgia, and it's like you never get that sample back. It's like, I hope they're donating them or something, but it's like so weird that you'd have to send like a Gildan tee if you want to sell Gildan. You send a next level tee. You send all these things and they just go into an abyss, I feel like.
I feel like licensing is is a big reason why a lot of people would either avoid going into the collegiate marketplace or are a little bit more reluctant, to enter it. Are there still universities out there that aren't going through the licensing process? And even if there are universities that are doing the license, is there another way maybe to sell into the university without getting the license? Like I know, Stephen, you'd mentioned the not for resale, but I don't remember back in like 2008, 2009. I don't remember having to do that with some of the universities around here.
So, I mean, from my perspective, all Division I, as far as I'm aware of, are either LRG or CLC licensed. We did branch out at one point when we were focusing on some of that, which we don't anymore, primarily for reasons you mentioned earlier, where Barnes & Nobles actually came in and took over a lot of the store accounts. We still keep our licenses for local sales, not for resale, but not, at the tune it was when we were, had 100 SKUs in a bookstore, right? But when we have worked with like community colleges, some of those were not, they don't have any licensing. Some private schools were not as well. It really just depends on the, case by case, university by university. I don't know that it's a clean line between, if Division II doesn't. I think there's some that do, so it really just depends on the university itself. But as far as my knowledge, I think all Division I's are one of those two licenses.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee you all League One is.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would even go as far as to say that in the smaller schools. So when my daughter went to go play beach volleyball for that really small college out in North Carolina, I don't know what it's like, NC. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're all like everything had to be licensed. I like did a couple things for the coaches, but I'm like, don't tell them where you got them, type thing. Neil, so I have a question for you because the other two kind of were already questions I had were already asked. So as a promo company specializing in Penn State, what are some of the key promotional products or strategies that really resonate with the Penn State community?
They kind of bounce all over the place, really. The thing that really matters the most is your end user and the audience. So, obviously Penn State was founded as an agricultural school, so we have a lot of ag programs. So there's like that section where if you know that you're targeting them, they're going to want like name brand and like, Carhartt or something that resonates with them. But then you go over to the business school and they're not going to want the same products. So you really have to know trends within the university and also who targeting the end user. It's a weird market, and then at our retail level, the girls are buying toddler t-shirts to shred up to go to the tailgates and they're wearing them as bandos. So like go into the tailgates and walking around and seeing and going on campus and seeing the fashion, like the oversized stuff and all that, the trends. Like I get the president of the business school all the way down to the 20 member clubs, And then I have another aspect where there's a dance marathon every year called Thon, and it's for childhood cancer. And so I'm a big, I'm one of the main salespeople for that, for what they sell. So I have a whole nother section of people that are doing this as like a fundraising effort for cancer. So like, I don't know, there's a lot of different avenues that I go down pretty much every day, but really targeting what they're looking for is the hardest aspect of my job.
I bet. Is there any success stories that you could share with us of the promotional product or promotional campaigns that you've done that were particularly effective in reaching the market there?
Not that I can really think of like off the top of my head, but it's like they're
about the thought. I was
You're muted, Meg.
Damn it.
It sounded like you were bleeping yourself when you were trying to.
No, I was actually going to ask, can you talk to the thon?
Yeah, so they're like a it started with all the fraternities and sororities, and they do this 48 hours of dance to cure childhood cancer, or that's their goal. And they raise all this money every year, every February. I'm just like completely busy. Like, don't even bother me. I've got so many orders to process. Like, it's crazy. But not only do they all want their own individual merchandise, but then there's also like the group merchandise that just says Thon and all that stuff. So that's definitely a different audience. And there's also alumni groups that are involved with that. So once you're like a Penn Stater or involved with Thon, I feel like you're always going to be involved with it. So that's like it's a big thing here in February for sure.
Yeah, the collegiate marketplace is definitely a huge beast. I know a lot of people get hung up in just going after like the bookstore business, but I really feel like there's so much more business outside of the bookstore, like the orientation, for instance, or undergraduate marketing, and these departments that are seeing 20 and 30,000 piece orders come through for the new students that are coming in, or commencement when your students are graduating. There's so many different ways to get into the university without just going through the bookstore, and that's kind of why I asked, or was alluding to the licensing and how that works with the not for resale stuff, because a lot of times when I was working with some of those other departments, they didn't actually require you to be licensed, and it was a huge blessing because they were actually better orders.
Yeah, and
Penn State.
Go ahead, Neil.
Penn State definitely wants you to be licensed. Like, you have to be on their licensed vendor list, and you have to be. I have all your ducks in a row for sure. You don't want to get audited, that's for sure.
Yeah, but if you're working with like an Edinburgh or a Slippery Rock or something like that, I mean, they might be a little different. I'm not sure, right?
Yeah, Slippery Rock and Edinburgh are definitely a little bit different. Maybe that's just because like Penn State's in like the Big Ten or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, more recognition, more controversy, more problems, and a lot of people trying to do bootleg stuff, even locally. So they have a strict leash on what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do.
One of the challenges, Jeff, that we saw, and it's not really so much a challenge, just something to educate people on, is especially if they're going after bookstore business, is a lot of our suppliers have in their contracts the ability for them to have direct sale into those bookstores. So specific brands, obviously I'm not going to go into super specifics, but those markets a lot of times are carved out for direct sale with some of the supplier bases, and it's in your contract. Like, if you wanted to look into it, it's nothing that they're being deceptive about, but it's usually golf stores and bookstores for Collegiate. A lot of them already have partnerships and licenses into those, so you end up kind of crossing paths, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, I'll back off here, you back off here, and if you really get into the system, you find that there's ways you can both work together on side by side on maybe different projects, but it is a more competitive space for sure. So those other markets, as you mentioned, those aren't protected, and those are kind of more free game for the promotional world. And I would say quite possibly more, if you can be more successful in this, because there is so many more different departments and so much more branding and so many more students. But there's big business all over Collegiate for sure.
Yeah. So is it worth it? Like, let's say you're, got one big school that's local to you and you're going to go after them. I mean, is it worth it trying to go after the licensing with all the royalties and the upfront costs, or, buying the labels or the stickers and all that stuff, the hang tags, all that good stuff? I mean, there's a lot of upfront costs, and then the royalties and figuring all that out. Is it worth going after it, do you think, Neil? Like, I mean, especially if it's just like one school that you're going after, or do you need to really be going after multiple schools to make the whole licensing thing worth it?
I think it is worth it. I just think you have to really, if you're going to pay for the license and you're going to go through that whole process, which is not the easiest process to go through, then I think that you really should focus and really concentrate on that one university that you applied for. Because reporting the royalty, and also you have to have almost like a dedicated employee. It's complicated. After you get through CLC and that whole licensing system, you have to have this UPI number to submit all your royalties. There's a lot of tracking involved with that. So it's definitely worth it. Sometimes it's a headache, but you really need to focus on, after you get the licensing agreement, to keep going after it. Don't get discouraged because they denied your design. They deny them every day, all day long. They're, it's just what happens.
They're definitely there to get in the way.
Yeah. Neil, did you say that you sell more promo products or more apparel to the collegiate market? What are they buying more of?
I would say it's like, we call them here like seasons. It's not spring, fall, winter for us. It's it's incoming students, it's August, so my like timeline of the year is like completely different. So I would say at different times of the years, like when conference season is coming up, I'm selling more promo items, more cinch bags, more water bottles. Like what they're going to be asking for at that time of the year. But when the school year first starts out, they all want their merch. They all want their hoodies, their club hoodies, all their specific like College of Engineering sweatshirts and the School of Law quarter zips. Like that these orders are coming because they're every year. And so, like we just got through graduation season where it's like awards, lion statues. And so it's more like seasons of selling, not like, I mean, anybody can ask for anything at any time of the year, but like when when the phone rings at like the beginning of May, okay, what do you need for graduation? You need embroidery on stoles. You need acrylic awards. You need, it's just what's going on. It has everything to do with the university schedule. So if you're going to go after a university, then you need to print out their schedule and plan your promotions 2 weeks, a month in advance to get.
I was going to say that's one of my favorite things about selling into the college marketplace when I was a distributor was the fact that it's very cyclical. Everything's annual. Everything happens every year. If that event happened last year around that time, it's going to happen around the same time every year. So it makes it really easy to sort of plan your calendar, like you just alluded to, on a 365 basis and sort of planning out, so like if it's, and right now, I think this is a very opportune time to talk about selling into the college marketplace, because I'm sure you're getting tons of calls for use it or lose it funds, because colleges work on a budget. And if they've got money left in the budget, they're trying to spend it before the end of the year, because if they don't spend it, they lose it. And then their budgets next year probably go down because they didn't use all of their budget for this year. So look, May and June are good times for colleges. And then, of course, July 1, they get their new budget. So that's always a good time as well. Typically, it takes them a little bit of time to get those funds allotted and allocated. And, so you're usually looking at orders more in like August time frame for the new budget. But definitely a good time to be talking about the college marketplace.
Neil,
yep, all their budgets are about to expire. So they run, July 1st and they get their new budget. So they're trying to buy right now, and it's a good time because the students are gone now. So like I have more time to devote to the staff members, and it all just kind of, all the puzzle pieces just kind of fit together. You know what I mean? When the students leave, the staff go more at like planning and what they're going to do to use their budget and then get ready for the next year. So a lot of staff orders are coming in over the summer. They're like, people say, oh, you should be dead. You're dead now, right? Like, I'm like, no, they have summer camps all summer long. I'm doing science camps. I'm doing computer science camps. There's stuff at the university going on 365 days a year. It's just, you're not thinking about it. You think academic school year, you think fall, you're going to get crushed. Yeah, we do, but it's not, it's consistent, it's just different orders. Yeah.
Meg, were you going to go into something there?
I was, but then they were talking over the loudspeaker. Being in the collegiate market and selling to that demographic, how much does social media play into your sales and the whole facade that's going on? Like, how much do you guys do with your social media for Penn State or towards Penn State?
We've tried a bunch of different strategies, honestly, and direct email marketing to some of the staff members is probably the most effective. The students really aren't following our Facebook page. I mean, some of them are that interact with us all the time, like all the club presidents and stuff like that. But we're not on TikTok. I don't have time for like TikTok trends and dances and stuff and like, next level tea or whatever.
What?
Well, you want to come with me? You want to do some of these?
Yes. When I come out, we'll do some TikToks.
Yeah, you can do some, what do you do? Taekwondo? No,
jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Careful what you ask for, Neil, because she'll do it, and she tends to go viral.
Well, hey, maybe that's a good
Police
thing.
may be involved. You never know.
I think we should make this happen because I think I want to see this. I think TikTok needs this.
I think
Hey,
TikTok music as well.
quick question for you, Neil, before we wrap up here. In the ad impression study, they did they looked at the top 5 most influential products among consumers 18 to 24, which is like smack in that college student market. The top products were outerwear 1, health and safety 2, bags 3, performance wear 4, and umbrellas 5. How do you think that kind of lines up with what you're seeing? Because I thought those were kind of interesting for the age brackets. Some of them I can see, some of them I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Umbrellas.
Yeah, the umbrellas kind of threw me off a little bit. But honestly, like the number 1 for outerwear, I guess they're lumping in quarter zips, crew neck sweatshirts.
Fleece, quarter zips, jackets.
Yeah. So with number 1, that is number 1. Hoodies, crew neck sweatshirts, full zipped fleeces, quarter zips. I mean, that's their jam. That's what the college kids, they love. And you have to remember back when you went to college, like I don't know if I have any pieces left from college, but like,
but if you did, they would be the most amazing pieces you had, and they're probably outerwear.
And I still have my Navy sweatshirts. My daughters both have.
Sorry.
Sweatshirts.
You're
That's
good.
What happened. You had a phone call, right?
Yeah, I had a phone call. Sorry about that. But when you get reminiscent about your college career and stuff, you think back to like all those milestones, like, oh, that's the time I got my quarter zip. So like, even though it's like a repeat order for me, it's the most important part to that student, to rep their group or their major. So outerwear for sure. You know what I mean? Like that's a given. Umbrellas, I don't really see that. What was number 2?
Health and safety. That was the one I was also a little confused about, but I don't know. Bags 3 makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised t-shirts.
And performance wear also kind of makes sense if you were to lump in all the shorts and leggings and things like that as well.
Yeah. Well, and I guess maybe when they also talk about the collegiate market, they're also talking about the sports teams. So performance wear, I could definitely see that. We're a Nike sponsored school, so like I don't get a lot of those orders because they're bringing me provided garments, but they're all about the performance wear because they see all the athletes wear it. So anything that has Penn State football on it or that the athletes are wearing, they want for sure. Their budget, that also plays a.
They have the Nike budget, but the Team 365, or no, what is it? The Nike, wants, but the Team 365 budget. So yeah, totally get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that. But I also the sweatshirts and the outerwear, and that is something they keep year after year. Before, when you had stepped out for a second to take that call, I was saying both of my daughters have my Navy sweatshirts, and when I just got a text message, she is coming. So the Navy sweatshirt that she has was from when I was in boot camp, and that was over 20 years ago, like 1998. Cool. Yeah. So I think it's really neat. It's the same. It's literally my hoodie. So it's lasted over 20 years.
That's awesome. So I do have one question, because I know I'm very familiar with CAMX and the Tailgate Show, which I wasn't familiar with them before I was a supplier and was actually asked to go exhibit with a distributor that was selling into the college marketplace. Do you guys participate in any of those? And have you noticed things going from CAMX to the trade to the tailgating show, and are they worth doing?
We don't really participate. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know. No comment.
All right.
We have they have a local, I know there's like local collegiate shows that we did one time. It was like CAMX Light, I guess you could say. It was more for North Carolina based schools to all see the,
they have regional ones.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did one of those ones because I was just curious. I'm like, is this going to be beneficial? I mean, it wasn't, because my license was only went to so many colleges, right? So I've got a couple hundred universities there. They're like, yeah, this is cool. Can you sell to us? And I'm like, maybe in a month or two, like if there's interest. So it's like reverse selling when you do that, as opposed to just spending more time with your current customers, showing them those things. And I didn't see the value to to do it. Now, there were some products and programs had we just dove into it further. I'm sure, Neil, if you have like a winner, and you wanted to go after certain places, that might make sense to do. But even if you get larger than that, for us, we would feel like a fish out of water because we can only deal with like 10 people in the room. It's like, what good is it to talk to 1,000 of us if we would need a different license for California-based school, and we can only sell a decent amount. So that's
yeah. I
go
think that's what boils down to it for us. We've been in business for a long time, so we have a lot of history with some of the core people and the core universities that we work with. So we don't really go to those kind of shows, but because they're coming to us. My time in the office is way more important than trying to get somebody that I might not even be able to sell to in the end,
Yeah, so I guess it just depends on the number of schools you're selling into and sort of what the focus is.
Yeah.
I will say I feel like the college market is one of those markets where the lines get a little bit blurry in our industry because I know that there's, and Stephen, you might have been alluding to this earlier, but I will say I was kind of shocked and appalled at my first time at a CAMX show. Again, I was there with a distributor selling as the distributor. And just to get to walk the show floor to see how many suppliers that are, at a PPAI Expo or an ASI Chicago, are actually on that floor exhibiting directly to the college marketplace. I was very, very surprised to see that.
And not to make the gray areas grayer, but I have a pretty strong opinion on suppliers that offer products that they have licenses for. So like there was a big string of that for several years in a row. I haven't seen very much of it as of late, but where they will already have all of your university logos as options for artwork because they're licensed for it. And for me as a distributor, I'm like, that was our competitive advantage. We went through the trouble to get the license. We paid all the stuff. We did all this so we can do the artwork, for the universities. And how is it that you have these licenses that now gives 30,000 people the ability to sell into my school, right? So it's a very kind of gray area where it's like, oh, that's helpful, for someone that doesn't have the license, but it's also damaging because, you wouldn't see that if someone said, okay, hey, I've got all the Google licensing, hey, here's Google logos and stuff, go sell to Google on our, like, it doesn't work if you change the narrative for a different company. And so I have a strong opinion about that, but I think that's kind of, some of that has kind of gone to the wayside, but that is an interesting thing. I'm sure you've seen, Neil. It's out there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have seen that.
Yeah.
So Neil, if you were a distributor that has never sold into a college at all before, what advice could you give somebody that wants to sell into the college marketplace? Where would you start?
Well, I guess I'd have to start with licensing. You know what I mean? Like find out, get the client first, make them feel comfortable with you. Tell them you're going to help them. Because if I can be completely honest, like the end user is not that knowledgeable about the ropes that they have to go through to actually get their merchandise and apparel. So establish your game plan with the customer and say that you're going to reach out to the licensing department and go on their behalf. And then go from there, because without approved art from them, you're dead in the water.
Yeah, and I also feel like a mistake that a lot of people make is they go straight to the purchasing department, and they think that that's like where all the decisions are made. And as you know, I'm sure that's if you're trying to get in at that level, you're way past that point.
Yeah, don't worry about the PO. The PO will come. Just get your garment and your logo approved first, and establish that trust with your customer that you're going to handle it and you're going to take care of them, and lead them through this very complicated process that I've been through a million times.
Yeah. Meg, Stephen, any other questions or follow up?
No, I was going to ask him that question that you just did. So Neil, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today. You welcome information about selling to the collegiate market. We really appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. It was a real honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit of knowledge with us. Stephen, anything else?
No, I mean it's a wild industry to sell into. Lots of great opportunities and great business, but a lot of steps between starting and finishing. So yeah, I think it was very good. It was awesome to hear the other perspective from different markets and different areas. That's great.
It's a different beast. There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons for sure. It's not the easiest market to sell into, but once you're in and you're embedded, it's pretty good. And like I said, it's cyclical. So it's
Barnes and Nobles comes and
it's
takes
super
it all
helpful.
away.
Barnes and Noble's only going after the bookstores, though, man. People got to get away from the bookstores. Start selling into the departments. Are they?
Oh,
not really. It's more than that.
They're going after more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like me and Steven need to have a beer.
Yes. Gladly.
I'm actually really shocked to hear that the Barnes Noble.
Yeah, they're also telling some part of their contractual stuff is funneling funds that are given to the different departments to have to go through the bookstore now, which will then take it away from them being able to go out and use licensed vendors here. They have to go through Barnes. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah,
I've honestly never understood why the colleges would go to Barnes and Noble to begin with, but the fact that they're going even beyond the bookstore now is wow.
Well, Barnes and Noble probably, everyone was looking for a different avenue to make money, since COVID. That how many people were actually going into the bookstore? How many Barnes and Nobles do you actually have in your area? Any brick and mortar Barnes and Nobles? I think there's one in my entire, and I'm surprised it's even there, to be honest with you. So they probably had to find another outlet, and there it was.
Well, not to stretch this out, but a lot of bookstores have basically like a third of their inventory is like product and merch stuff, then technology, and then books. Well, the book market got destroyed because a lot of stuff went digital. The tech market got destroyed because everyone can buy it online, and it was way too expensive. And bookstores were only getting like very small returns, like $5 gift cards for a computer from Apple, like crazy, like low margin stuff. So the only successful part of a lot of the bookstores was the product. Like a lot of their giant revenue streams were from the apparel and the product sales in those industries. But Barnes and Noble could solve 2/3 of that issue, which is the book side of it, which is probably the largest part of the bookstore, and some of the technology stuff. So all they needed to do is figure out that third component, whereas we as product salespeople don't know anything about the other two sides. So that's from what I have heard and what I've seen in transitions was the deal. Like the financial pros and cons of the two, they solved the inventory issue, the books issue, and the tech issue. And so a lot of schools just decide to go that route. So
yeah. I'll add one more thing to that some of the people that have been pushed to Barnes & Noble have come back to me because Barnes & Noble wants to take these individual accounts and cookie cutter them. Yep. They're like, this is the hoodie you get. This is the full zip fleece you get. And we're going to give you all these products on a web page and you can order them, but we're not going to give you anything extra. We're not going to give you anything specialized to your specific major or profession. They're just not willing to bend in that regard. So let them keep not bending. It's pushing people back towards me where I'm going to let you have a Carhartt t-shirt. I'm going to let you have these different things that's more specialized to your group or your department that they're not going to do.
And it is interesting. There's even gray area with that. Like they don't tell Nike they can't sell into the school. If you're a Nike school, right? They're not telling Adidas that you can't sell in, that you have to buy through Barnes and Nobles. So why is it that everyone else has to say, has to stay away, right? So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot there. It's complicated. Just prepare yourself if you enter into it. But there's lots of stuff that is still out there. So,
yeah,
awesome.
Fair enough. Well, look, this episode was, again, brought to you by our good friends over at ASI, and we're talking about the ASI Chicago show taking place July 25th through the 27th at McCormick Place North Building. Don't miss your chance to spark conversations, discover new products, and build your business and have fun at the last large-scale trade show of the year. Highlights include a keynote on how to close more sales by improving your pitch, a panel of industry executives sharing how to navigate the current promo marketplace, an exhibit hall filled with innovative product ideas, education sessions to help you grow your business, and opportunities to network, win prizes, and much more. Register now at asishow.com. and use promo code PC. And really excited. Neil, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some of that expertise, man. Really appreciate it. It was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of PromoCorner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.